A big hello and a very warm welcome to a special show. And today I'm going to be joined by the world's steamiest dating app CEO, the Tinder CEO, Elie Seidman. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. Truly a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's good to be here.
I'm super excited about this interview because not often do you get to interview, the Tinder CEO, and it is the world's most popular dating app. So I believe this is your maiden trip to India.
It is, yeah, my first time in India.
What are your first observations?
It's beautiful.
Culture shock?
Yeah, it's busy. The traffic is incredibly unique.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great. I'm loving being here. I think what's so interesting about this market right now is that it's the largest market for us in Asia.
Okay.
It's growing rapidly. You have, approximately 100 million young people who are using their smartphones for everything.
Right.
And so I think we're in a really fascinating moment where all of a sudden for young people who are using their smartphones, right, for food delivery, for maps, for music, for books, and now more and more for meeting new people,
Sure.
which is of course an age-old thing.
Right.
You have this amazing confluence of things here in India. So.
Yeah, but what is so interesting is, that you're the CEO of one of the coolest brands because this is the world's most popular dating app.
Yeah.
So what for you, who's also seen dating in, let's say, the good old analog days?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How interesting is this, being the CEO of Tinder in terms of, what is new, happening and out there and something that you're, unable to digest?
I think the best way to think about this is let's take a little bit of a story, right? We go back 10 or 15 or 20 years to the analog days.
Sure.
Right? Meeting new people is not a new idea. We've always wanted to meet new people.
Right.
So maybe some friends introduced you and you went on a date and you got there on a blind date and you realized in the first 20 seconds, minute, 2 minutes, this is going nowhere. I think we can all relate to that experience.
Sure.
Or you go to a friend's party and you see somebody across the room and they see you.
Right.
And you realize you have a little bit of a click, right? Some chemistry.
Right.
And so if you think about that very human experience, which we can all connect to, the insight of Tinder back in 2012 was, wait, we can take that and put it into an app. And so, fast forward from 2012 until very, very recently, the world has changed, right? Hundreds of millions of people have used Tinder, tens of millions across the world, here in Delhi, in Seoul, in Tokyo, in London, in Paris, are going to use this literally today to meet new people. So we've seen in our own life, in a very short period, the world change dramatically for something that is incredibly old.
Sure.
I think that's a really amazing thing.
Elie, I would really be interested in knowing how dating trends differ geographically and because of, cultural nuances. So if you could throw some light on how people are approaching this whole online dating world in different geographies, that would be so interesting.
Yeah. So go back again, right? 2012 in the US. Smartphones have proliferated.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Right.
And we're using them more and more as young people.
Sure.
For everything.
Sure.
Right? So you don't carry around a bag of cassette tapes. It's on your phone.
Right.
Right? You don't carry around a bag of books. It's on your phone.
Right.
Video, don't even go to TV. It's on your phone.
Sure.
Right? Everything's on your phone.
Right.
And Tinder launches, and let's go back to what it does. It says, hey, we're going to show you to other people. They're going to see you. If you both mutually consent, very important because consent is baked in from the beginning. If you both mutually consent, we're going to connect you and let you chat, right?
Right, right.
And that's a very fundamental thing. And it starts with young people in the US on college campuses. But almost instantly, it goes to big cities in the US, New York and LA, and then it goes to Paris and London. It goes around the world. And so I think actually the biggest thing is that there's something more universal than different. Right? Young people want to meet new people. That's not a new idea. They're using their smartphones for everything. Here in India, right in the past 2 years, how many people have used their smartphone for everything? Food delivery, right?
Sure.
Music.
Sure.
And so we see this grow, and hundreds of millions of people later, it's a global phenomenon. Now, everybody uses it a little bit differently.
Sure.
Right? If you're 25 in Paris, you're going to use it for the life that you want. And if you're 18 in the US or you're 22 in Delhi, it's going to be yours. And those trends differ a little bit, but it starts with that universal foundation, which I think is so powerful.
Right. But I mean, if I had to dig a little deeper in terms of, for instance, I only ask you this question because I know in India where you're about 3 years old here. Give or
Yeah,
take.
yeah. We hired our country manager who runs India for Tinder 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it seems like a major thrust for you, the India market, because we see that you're really serious about it. Having said that, I think in India as a market is slightly more traditional than the West, because that's just the way we are. And so I was curious about how Indians are using this dating app vis-a-vis the rest of the world. Are we also homogenous in our behavior, or are there stock trends that come out and jump out in your face?
The same way there's no one Tinder, there's no one India.
Of course.
Right? So an 18-year-old and a 40-year-old are going to be very different. And so I can't speak, Taru can speak really deeply. She runs India for Tinder. She can speak really deeply to every nuance, which she studied really intensely by looking at our members and understanding what they like to do. But I would say the thing we see a lot, and I think this is both a very local thing, but also a broader thing, which is we're now in this moment of experience culture, right?
Okay.
As young people, experiences are in some ways more important than anything else. And the experiences of who we make friends with, who we connect to, our relationships, these are the most important parts of our life.
Right.
Right. And so that's something we see a lot. We see people saying, hey, I want to express myself. I want to be my true self. I want to be authentically me. That we see that very strongly in India.
Okay.
We see the idea of shared interests very strongly, of experiences that we can have together very strongly. Those really jump out. The other one, which I think is really interesting, is that going back, right, the idea of consent is really important. It's baked into Tinder, right? I have to right swipe, they have to right swipe, we both have to agree. We see that women in India have really embraced a feature we have called super like, which gives them the ability to express more interest themselves. And I think that's really an interesting one, more than anywhere else in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're saying Indian women are using this feature more than the rest of the world?
Anywhere else in the world.
So they're making the first move.
They're expressing their interest. Yeah, they're expressing their interest.
Well, that's interesting.
Tinder has always had from the beginning, right, baked into the product. We took our value of consent and we put it in the way the product works.
Right.
That innovation, which we pioneered along with the swipe, made Tinder what it is today, 300 million plus people later.
So, as somebody who's leading the world's largest, online dating app, how would you see dating today as is, globally, and how do you see it progressing 5 years from now? What are the key, big, largest headline changes you see in the dating space?
I think what's fascinating is that 10 years ago, young people didn't use technology, didn't use computers, didn't use apps. There really weren't that many apps yet.
That's true.
To meet new people. It wasn't done. And in a very short time, now hundreds of millions of people have done it. And so I think we're at the very, very beginning for this phase of life for young people, right? It starts at 18, and then can last until it lasts. Using an app to meet new people and doing that throughout that journey is going to become the norm. It's the way we do it. And we see that already. We see that happening, right? And by the way, a great data point here is Tinder today is the #2 grossing app in India. The #2 grossing app in India. If you look at our business as a good case study, right, it's become a very big business. So you have a lot of clear evidence that this is like the beginning of something that is the norm.
Wow. So when you say that, I'm also interested, I asked you about the future of dating because, there are suggestions that online dating in the next 5 years or even as soon as 2019 would be, VR aided, holograms. Do you think these are actual, even Alexa, possibly screening matches for us? Do you see this really possible in the near future, or is that a bit far away?
I think the best part of Tinder is the people, right? And I think that perhaps now more than ever, right? We love our devices. They do so much for us. But now more than ever, the best part of Tinder is the real connections, the real relationships in the real world that you have based on the people you meet on Tinder, right? So I think that that's the real future is like, how do we get off these apps and meet people in the real world? That's my prediction for what happens over the next 5 years.
Okay.
Now more than ever, it's incredibly important.
So you're saying the need for offline will become significantly?
It's already incredibly important.
Okay.
We're already using our apps to do that with
Okay.
Tinder.
Okay.
And it's going to become even more important. We want those experiences in the real world. They're the best part of life.
So your results have just come out. Match's results have just come out, your quarterly results, and clearly many congratulations on Tinder. Stellar numbers.
Thank
you. Give me a sense in terms of your revenue model. I believe most of your revenue actually comes from your subscribers and not so much from advertising. Is that actually true?
More than 95% of our revenue comes from paid features that a small percentage of people pay us for on Tinder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're really driven by our paid features.
I see. So you are not as advertising dependent as most other businesses, which is the good news.
We are not an ad driven. Period. We are not ad driven. We are driven by those premium features that a small percentage of people pay us for.
And would your other sister firms, such as OkCupid and Match, also follow similar?
I won't speak for them. I'm happy to give you the phone number of the CEO of OkCupid. I know him very, very well.
So can you tell me your numbers right now globally in terms of the number of paid subscribers you have?
I'll tell you that last year, in 2018, we did more than 800 million of revenue, approximately double what we did the year before. So it's become a very big and very successful business. Like I said before, the number 2 grossing app in all of India.
How would you deal with competition such as Bumble, which is seemingly becoming a threat of sorts, along with Facebook's announcement, very aggressive announcement on Facebook dating? Do you think the space is large enough to accommodate everybody? And my rejoinder to that is, how do you develop loyalty for dating apps? Like, how do you make me stay true to Tinder and not migrate to something else, or for that matter, have everything on my plate?
So if you think about Tinder's innovation,
right.
why were we the pioneers of this, right? Why did that happen? It happened because we understood people.
Right.
Or we understood people,
right.
And we were able to take those insights into people and build an app with those core innovations, right? Of mutual opt-in, double opt-in, of the swipe, which is so much fun, of making this core human experience great inside of an app. That's where it started. We didn't get that from looking at competitors. There was no insight to borrow from our competitors. And I really deeply believe that, right? Like, the best way to learn is from our tens of millions of members. And I think India is a great example of that.
Okay.
We come to India,
right?
It's a market that is the biggest one in Asia for us.
Right.
We're the number 2 in the App Store here, right? So it's become a very important business for us already. There's more than 100 million young people with smartphones, who probably many of whom will use this product in the coming years. And of course, India is has been so good at exporting innovation, right? There's yoga, there's Bollywood, there's cuisine, but more than anything, there's technology and innovation, right? Both domestically from India, but also Indians who have left India and moved to technology hubs like Silicon Valley.
Right.
And so when I come here, I'm trying to learn from our members, right? That's where we find our insights from. So it's not about competition. We keep our eyes on our members because they help us learn. Learning from them is the best way to learn. That's our inspiration.
And the whole migration from, let's say, from your perception, and I reiterate, perception as a hookup app to a social discovery app, right? And this whole transition in positioning, why do you think that's important?
Well, there's never been one Tinder. Let's go to 2013.
Sure.
We're growing really fast.
Sure.
Where are we growing? We're growing in New York, and we're growing in Paris, and we're growing in London. We're starting to grow in Asia. There's never been one Tinder. Young people, 18, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, there's never been one Tinder. And so the story of what Tinder is very personal. Okay. It depends on the locality you're in, the community you're in, depends on who you are, depends on your life stage, right? What you want at 18, the same exact person 3, 4, 5, 7 years later wants different things. So there's never been one thing, but the common part is the desire to meet new people and to make those connections, which are the core and the best part of life.
In terms of demographics, is there a particular, a swing to a particular age group you see, or do you see more and more people, older people because the divorce rate is so high, you see people coming on at the age of 40, 45, and is that getting larger? Is that something you see as people actually coming to dating apps? We also see a lot of married folk online. So not standing in judgment, but just in terms of, trends that you see, how is that working in terms of from a sheer data standpoint?
We don't break out the demographics, right? But we've always said that we're very interested in innovating for what young people want in this incredibly important and formative phase of their life. And so we're very straightforward. That's what we've been so good at. That's where our innovation started. That's what's led to the success, which now has more than 300 million people who have downloaded the app, tens of millions using it every month. So we know where we like to focus. We know what we're good at. We know what we understand, and we stay focused there.
And if I had to tell you 3 things I had to look out for from Tinder in the days to come, what would it be?
Well, we're not here to announce anything, right? But I would say that, the best part of Tinder is the people. And so you should expect that we will always make the experience better and better for those people. We love the mission we have. Think about what we do every day, right? We get up in the morning, we build an app that helps people meet people. It's like the best part of life, right? Think of your memories. My guess is your best memories are from the relationships you've had, the people you've met, the experience you've had with them. Is that true?
Yeah, good and bad.
Good and okay, good and bad. I hope more good than bad, right? And so I think that that's our mission, is to connect people, to help them meet. It's a great mission. The best part of Tinder has always been, will always be the people, and we get out of bed every morning, focused on that.
Well, all the very best,
Thank you,
Elie, and we hope to see you more often in India.
Thank you.
Hopefully the Tinder story in India is as successful as it is in the rest of the world.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.